In the year 2461, humanity had finally earned a seat among the stars. After centuries of struggle, Earth had joined the Galactic Council, a group of alien races that claimed to protect peace across the galaxy. But peace among species was never. Easy old grudges, fear, and greed lived quietly behind smiles. Ambassador Marcus Hale, one of humanity's best peacekeepers, was chosen to lead negotiations between Earth and the Zorath Empire. The Zorath were a proud and ancient race, their ships vast and golden, their culture harsh and full of warriors. For months, Marcus had worked to build trust. Speaking softly but with courage, he believed in peace more than anyone, and he carried Earth's hope on his shoulders. The meeting was to be held on Zorath Prime in the Grand Hall of Unity. Thousands watched the live broadcast across the galaxy. A human among aliens, standing tall, calm, and confident. Marcus wore a white diplomatic uniform, simple yet elegant. His badge shining under the alien lights. He smiled at the cameras, saying softly, "We came not to rule, but to understand." The crowd, mixed with different alien races, applauded politely. But the Zorath generals only stared. To them, humans were too young, too emotional, too dangerous. Hours passed. Negotiations dragged on. Behind the scenes, some Zorath officers grew angry. They hated the idea of humans being treated as equals. To them, peace was weakness. And that night, in secret chambers, they made a plan that would change the galaxy forever. Marcus returned to his shuttle after the talks, tired but hopeful. He sent a message to Earth Command. "Talks are difficult, but progress is coming." His voice was calm, gentle, the voice of a man who still believed in good. But in the shadows above the landing zone, Zorath war drones were already moving. No one saw them, not until it was too late. A flash of blue light tore across the night sky, then another. Then a sound like thunder as the human shuttle exploded into pieces. The blast lit the sky for miles. Crowds screamed, guards ran, the flames painted the Zorath capital red. Within seconds, the galaxy's hope for peace turned into dust when news reached Earth. Silence filled every command center. No one spoke, no one moved. Ambassador Marcus Hale, the man who gave his life for peace, was gone. Killed on a diplomatic mission under the protection of the Galactic Council. The Zorath government called it a tragic accident, blaming a technical malfunction. But everyone knew it was a lie, and humanity did not forget lies. Across Earth's orbit, massive warships of the Terran Defense Fleet powered up their reactors. The stars above the planet began to glow with silent anger. The Council begged Earth to stay calm, to wait for investigation. But the people of Earth had seen too much, too many betrayals, too many lost lives. And this time, the victim had been a man of peace. In the dark halls of Earth Command, Admiral Rain Vega watched the broadcast of Hale's last speech. She stood alone in front of the screen, the flames of the shuttle reflected in her eyes. Hale had been her friend, her mentor, her brother in arms. He once told her, "If I die for peace, promise me you'll make it mean something." Now, those words echoed in her heart like thunder. The generals around her waited for her order. The room was silent, except for the low hum of holographic displays. Then, finally, Admiral Vega spoke, her voice steady but full of rage. "They wanted war," she said. "Then let them see what humanity's fury looks like." The lights dimmed as Earth Command activated the Vengeance Protocol, a system so secret that even most captains didn't know it existed. Across the solar system, fleets began to move, quiet, cold, precise. Satellites blinked out one by one, communications went dark. To the galaxy, it looked as if Earth had fallen silent. But in that silence, the fire was growing, the kind of fire that doesn't burn cities. It burns empires, and when it reaches the stars, nothing can stop it. While the Galactic Council held emergency meetings and the Zorath leaders made false apologies, human engineers loaded warheads, soldiers whispered prayers, and families lit candles for hail, they knew what was coming. And the galaxy had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. That night, Earth slept in silence. But beyond the clouds, the Terran fleet prepared for something the stars had never seen before. Not invasion, not conquest, but justice. Justice for a man who came with open hands and was met with bullets. Justice for a peacekeeper whose death would ignite the galaxy, and as the first Terran battleships disappeared into the black void, one message echoed through every human station. They killed our peacekeeper. Now we bring fire and fury. The galaxy waited for Earth to respond. Everyone expected chaos, speeches, threats, maybe even surrender. But none of that happened. Instead, Earth went completely silent. No messages were sent to the Galactic Council. No diplomatic transmissions. Came from Earth Command. The human embassy on every alien world closed its doors. It was as if humanity had vanished into the dark. But deep inside that silence, something was moving. Admiral Rain Vega stood inside the war room beneath Earth's surface. The walls glowed dim red from holographic displays showing enemy positions. Before her floated the last image of Ambassador Marcus Hale. His calm face, his promise for peace. Her jaw tightened as she whispered, "You tried to save them, Marcus. Now, I will make sure they never forget you." The room was filled. With quiet tension, officers waited for orders that hadn't yet been spoken. Every screen across the command center showed the same symbol, a white flame. It was the seal of Operation Vengeance Dawn, a mission so secret that even the Council's spies had never heard its name. All across the solar system, humanity prepared. In silence, factories that once built ships for trade began building weapons of war. Civilian pilots were recalled. Miners in asteroid belts received encrypted codes. Every Terran fleet went dark. No radio, no beacon, no light. Even the stars above Earth seemed dimmer. On the alien networks, rumors began to spread. Maybe Earth has surrendered. Maybe they fear the Zorath. Maybe humans are weaker than we thought. But the few who had faced humans in battle before, they remembered something different. They remembered that humans never roar before they strike. On Zorath Prime, the generals celebrated. They held feasts, drank fire wine, and praised their emperor. They believed the humans were finished. Their council broadcast a message to the galaxy. "Let this be a lesson to the Terrans," the emperor said. "Those who reach beyond their stars will be burned by the sun." Laughter filled the hall. But far beyond their planet, in the dark emptiness between stars, something old and deadly was waking up. The Terran fleet, silent and unseen, began to move. From Mars, from Titan, from the hidden bases under Europa's ice, black ships slid into the void, invisible even to the most advanced scanners. They carried weapons that had never been used in war before, weapons designed not for conquest, but for vengeance. Admiral Vega watched the fleets align through her command screen. Her voice broke the silence for the first time in days. "All fleets report readiness," she said. "Initiate Ghost Protocol." One by one, the ships disappeared from every galactic radar, not destroyed, not hidden, erased. On the Council's world of Valora, alien diplomats argued for hours. "Earth must respond diplomatically," one shouted. "They are dangerous," another hissed. But no human envoy appeared. Only silence, and silence, in the language of humanity, had begun to mean something new. It meant war was coming. Meanwhile, on Earth, people carried on their lives with quiet determination. There were no parades, no public speeches, but every family placed a candle in their window. Every child learned Hale's name in school. They didn't call him a diplomat anymore. They called him the last messenger of peace. Above them, the Ark of Dawn, humanity's largest warship, prepared for launch. Its black hull shimmered like obsidian under the cold light of the moon. Inside, thousands of soldiers stood in formation, calm, silent, ready. They weren't hungry for blood, they were hungry. For justice, Admiral Vega walked through the corridor, the echo of her boots the only sound. Every soldier she passed saluted without words. She stopped at the viewing deck and stared at Earth below, blue and calm. "Look at it," she whispered. "They think silence is weakness. Let them," she said. "Let them learn what silence means when it belongs to us." Then came the message, short, clear, impossible to intercept, a single transmission sent to every Terran ship in the fleet. "For Hail," it read, "no more peace." And the stars above Earth flickered. One by one, the ships jumped into warp space, disappearing into the cold dark. When alien observers noticed the Terran signal traffic dropped to 0, they laughed. Again, they said Earth was hiding. They said humanity was afraid. But in the deep void, where no light reached, the first human warships were already in position around Zorath Prime, waiting for one word from Admiral Vega. In that moment, Earth's silence ended. The galaxy just didn't know it yet, because the silence wasn't fear. It was focus. It was the calm before the fire, the breath before the roar. And when humanity finally spoke again, the stars themselves would tremble. The galaxy slept peacefully, believing Earth had vanished into fear. But out there, in the deep black where no stars shone, humanity was watching. Hidden fleets drifted silently between asteroid fields and dark moons, engines cold, weapons armed, hearts burning. For 6 long weeks, Earth said nothing, no threats, no warnings. The Galactic Council thought the humans had accepted defeat. The Zorath Empire bragged of its victory, displaying pieces of the destroyed human shuttle in their museums. Their generals toasted with pride. They never realized those pieces were marked. Each fragment contained a beacon, a tracker so small that only human nanotech could detect it. From her command deck aboard the Ark of Dawn, Admiral Rain Vega stared into the holographic map of the galaxy. Each light on the display marked a Zorath outpost, a military relay, a fleet yard. Every single one was now being tracked in real time. Her voice was calm but deadly as she said, "Now we see them clearly. Now we begin." Across the fleet, captains received the same message. Operation Vengeance Dawn, Phase 1. Execute. In the cold darkness of the void, Terran warships powered up their drives, but their light didn't shine. It folded. Humanity's stealth systems, called Spectre fields, made even radar and quantum sensors blind. And then, without a single broadcast, without a single sound, they moved. The first target was Outpost S9, a Zorath listening post orbiting a red dwarf star. Inside, bored soldiers played card games, unaware of what drifted toward them. Then, in an instant, the stars outside their window vanished. They looked up, confused, and saw nothing. Just blackness. Then the blackness opened its eyes. 3 Terran destroyers uncloaked at once, their cannons glowing white. Before the Zorath could even raise shields, the human ships fired. The station vanished in pure light, torn apart molecule by molecule. No wreckage remained, only silence. The first strike had begun, at the same time, across 6 different systems. Identical attacks happened. Every Zorath defense line went dark. Their communications failed. Their fleets disappeared from radar. It was as if the stars themselves were being erased. When the Zorath High Command finally realized what was happening, it was too late. They tried to call for help, but their signals never left orbit, jammed by Terran pulsar rays hidden inside their own satellites. Human intelligence had been there all along, watching, waiting, preparing. Back on the Ark of Dawn, Admiral Vega stood still as the reports came in. Targets Alpha through Delta, neutralized. Zorath fleet at Station 12, destroyed. Civilian casualties, 0. She closed her eyes for a second, whispering to herself, "Marcus, this is for you." But this was only the beginning. The next wave was not destruction. It was a message. Human fleets began broadcasting holographic signals across Zorath territory. The image showed Marcus Hale standing proudly in his Peacekeeper uniform. His recorded voice played on every screen. "We came in peace," he said, calm and steady. "We offered friendship, and you answered with fire. Now you will understand what Earth means by justice." The Zorath civilians panicked. Their leaders called emergency meetings, trying to deny involvement, but humanity didn't target innocents, only the ones who ordered Hale's death. One by one, their names were erased from every galactic registry. Their homes burned silently in the night sky. The Galactic Council watched helplessly. Every attempt to reach Earth failed. Every probe sent towards Sol vanished without trace. And slowly, one terrifying realization spread among alien empires. Humanity wasn't fighting for territory. It wasn't fighting for revenge. It was fighting for meaning, for a single murdered man who carried their hope in one system, the Zorath. Fleet Admiral Kalar stared in disbelief as his flagship trembled. "Where are they firing from?" he shouted. No one answered, because the humans weren't in front of them. They were everywhere. Tiny drones swarmed like ghosts, invisible to scanners. Every missile strike came from nowhere and everywhere at once. And then came the moment the galaxy would never forget. The human flagship Ark of Dawn appeared over Zorath Prime. Its shadow blocked out the sun. A planet that once mocked humanity now saw its own reflection in the black hull of a Terran warship. The Zorath people looked up, terrified and speechless. Admiral Vega stood on her bridge, her voice carried across the system. "We warned you," she said, calm but cold. "You killed our Peacekeeper. Now we will take your peace." Seconds later, the skies above Zorath Prime turned white. Every military base on the planet was vaporized, precise and instant. No civilians harmed. No city touched. Only the guilty burned. And when the smoke cleared, the planet's banners fell to the ground. Above them, one flag remained, the blue and white symbol of Earth, glowing in orbit like a ghost. The galaxy watched in silence. No one dared to speak. For the first time in history, even the most powerful alien empires bowed their heads. They understood the truth. Humanity's silence had never been surrender. It had been the countdown before judgment, and now the countdown had reached 0. Earth had spoken, and its voice was made of fire. The galaxy had never been silent like this before. No transmissions, no laughter, no council broadcasts filled the void. Only static echoed through the networks, carrying fragments of human words. "You killed our Peacekeeper. Now we take your peace." Those lines played again and again on every world that had once mocked Earth. News of the destruction of Zorath Prime's military spread like wildfire. Whole empires stopped mid-conversation. Fleets froze in orbit. Alien leaders sat in disbelief, staring at the holofeeds showing the Terran flagship hanging above a burning sky. No one understood how humanity, a race barely 2 centuries in, the stars, had done this. The humans had shattered an empire in a single day without losing a single ship. And they did it while keeping every civilian alive. It was not war, it was precision vengeance. In the council chambers on Valora, panic replaced pride. Ambassadors shouted, wings flared, tentacles slammed the marble tables. "They are monsters," cried the Tavor delegate. "They are Avengers," whispered the Sarai. "They are humans," said the oldest member of the council, his voice trembling, but behind every word lay the same fear. If Earth could erase an empire overnight, who could stop them next? While the council debated, their systems began to flicker. One by one, lights dimmed, screens turned black. A new signal replaced their communication feed, a single image, the Earth emblem surrounded by a burning ring. Then a calm female voice spoke. This is Admiral Rain Vega of the Terran Defense Fleet. Humanity does not seek war, but we do not forgive murder. We have ended the Zorath threat. Let peace return, a peace earned, through justice, and then silence again. The aliens called it the broadcast of fire. It lasted less than a minute, yet changed the entire galaxy. Every government paused its expansion plans, every military recalculated its strength, and for the first time, Earth's name was spoken not with laughter or pity, but with reverence and fear. On the ruined world of Zorath Prime, the survivors walked through ash and silence. They found no human troops, no occupation force, only a monument standing in the center of the former military citadel, a tall white statue of Ambassador Marcus Hale, at its base, an inscription in both Terran and Zorath language. He came in peace, you answered with fire, Earth answered with justice. The Zorath people knelt before it, some wept, some prayed, and slowly they began to rebuild, not under Earth's control, but under Earth's example. They swore no soldier would ever raise a weapon against a peacekeeper again. Meanwhile, in the shadowed corridors of the Council, new conspiracies began to form. Some feared Earth's rise, others admired it. The Valori Syndicate, the most secretive, alien faction, began whispering plans of containment. They believed Earth must be limited before it became unstoppable. But they didn't realize that Earth already knew. Human intelligence networks were listening, tracking, recording every word, because the Terrans had learned one lesson from the death of Marcus Hale: never trust the quiet smiles of aliens again. Back on Earth, the people watched the galaxy tremble. They didn't celebrate. There were no parades, no cheers, just quiet understanding. They had defended their honor, and the cost was heavy every night. Candles still burned in the windows for the man who had believed in peace. And somewhere far above them, Admiral Vega stood at the viewport of the Arc of Dawn. Stars reflected in her eyes like shards of ice. She knew the galaxy would never be the same. But she also knew this was only the beginning. For every empire that feared Earth, another began to plot. For every world that respected them, another wanted revenge. Whispers spread that the humans had a hidden weapon. Something worse than fleets. Something older. Something forbidden. They called it Project Solaris. No one knew what it was. Only that the next time Earth went silent, it wouldn't be vengeance. It would be extinction. And as the galaxy spun quietly, every ruler, every commander, every emperor looked toward the blue planet and wondered, what would happen if humanity ever lost its patience again? Because if one murdered peacekeeper could unleash such fury, what would the death of a world bring? The shock wave wasn't just of war, it was of fear. And that fear would echo across every star. Forever the Zorath Empire was gone, not conquered, erased. Its fleets drifted as silent wreckage in the dark, its generals vaporized in their command halls. Yet the strangest thing of all was that Earth didn't stay. They took no slaves, no spoils, no territory. They simply left to the galaxy. This was more terrifying than victory, because no one understood what kind of species could destroy an empire and then walk away. It meant they had fought not for land or power, but for a principle. And that kind of enemy could never be predicted, never controlled. In the ruins of Zorath Prime, one man still lived, Commander Kalar Varn, once a loyal officer of the Zorath High Command, now a ghost among the ashes. He had seen the end with his own eyes. The burning skies, the falling banners, the hologram of Marcus Hale appearing in every shattered city. He couldn't sleep without hearing Hale's final recorded words. "We came in peace." They echoed in his dreams, cutting deeper than any blade. For weeks, Kalar wandered the ruins searching for answers. He no longer believed the official story that Hale's death was an accident, too clean, too convenient. Someone had planned it, and that someone had doomed their entire civilization. He found the truth deep beneath the old war citadel, buried under a mountain of broken metal, a black vault still pulsed with power. Inside, he found the logs of HFY. Warlord Cyrix, the one who had ordered the attack on Hale's shuttle. The files were encrypted, but Kalar was a soldier. He had ways to break codes. When the data appeared on the cracked screen, he felt his blood freeze. It wasn't just Cyrix. Half the high command had been involved. And worse, the plan hadn't even been theirs. Hidden inside the logs was a foreign code signature, alien to Zorath systems. Kalar's eyes widened as he read the last line of the file. Operation Cinderlight authorized, Valora Council contact confirmed. The Galactic. Council they had known, maybe not all of them, but someone on the inside had whispered encouragement. The death of the human Peacekeeper had not just been Zorath pride. It had been manipulation, a game of fear. And now the Zorath were dust, while the Council sat untouched. Kalar stared at the screen for hours, his hands shaking. He finally understood what his empire had done and what they had become, not the masters of the galaxy, but its fools, used, deceived, sacrificed. For the first time he wept, not for the Zorath, but for the human they had murdered, because he realized Hale had been their last chance at peace. Above the ruins, strange lights appeared in the sky, human drones, quiet, invisible, scanning. Watching, Kalar raised his hands and shouted, I know the truth! The drones froze, their lenses locking onto him. Seconds later, a beam of light surrounded him, and he vanished. When Kalar opened his eyes again, he was aboard a Terran vessel. Everything was white and silent. A human officer stood before him. Tall, calm, eyes like steel. Commander Kalar Varn, she said. You were the only survivor we found near the command citadel. Why? Kalar took a deep breath. Because I was looking for the truth, he said, voice trembling. We were lied to. He handed her a small data crystal, the last copy of Cyrix's files. This will show you, he said. We were manipulated. By someone inside the council? The officer's expression didn't change, but she pressed her earpiece. Admiral Vega, she said quietly. You need to see this. Minutes later, Admiral Rain Vega entered the chamber. Her presence filled the room like gravity, calm and crushing at the same time. She looked at Kalar without anger, just an unreadable stillness. You speak of truth, she said. Then tell me, who gave the order to kill Marcus Hale? Kalar looked down, shame twisting his face. It was Cyrix, he said, but he wasn't acting alone. He handed her the crystal. Someone on the Galactic Council wanted war between us. Vega said nothing for a long time. She turned the crystal. Over in her hand, the light reflecting off its sharp edges. So, she finally said, the Council hides behind diplomacy and lets others do their killing. She looked up, eyes hard as ice. Then they'll learn what it means to betray peace, Kalar shook his head. Please, he said, my people are gone. I have nothing left. Let me help you. Let me make it right. Vega studied him. Then she said something that made even the Terran officers flinch. You can't bring back the dead, Commander. But you can help us show the living what happens when lies lead to blood. She turned to her crew. Set course for Valora, she said. It's time the Council answers for Hale. As the ship moved through the stars, Kalar stood beside her at the viewport. He saw Earth's blue glow far behind them, calm and perfect. He realized humanity wasn't fighting for hate. They were fighting because they remembered, because one of their own had been murdered for trying to unite the galaxy, and now the ones who had started it, the real monsters, were about to face humanity's truth. The galaxy thought the storm was over, but in the darkness ahead, the thunder was only beginning. The arc of dawn glided through the void like a silent god. No lights, no transmissions, no insignia. Just darkness wrapped around purpose. To the galaxy, The Terran flagship had vanished after the fall of Zorath Prime, but in truth it was moving toward the heart of power, toward Valora, the world of the Galactic Council. Admiral Rain Vega stood on the bridge, her face lit by holographic stars. Beside her stood Commander Kalar Varn, the last surviving Zorath officer. He was no longer her prisoner. He was her witness, and his hands trembled as he clutched the crystal, containing the truth. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Kalar asked quietly. "The Council, they control everything." Vega didn't look at him, her voice low. "They control everything," she said, "until someone stops obeying." The silence on the bridge was broken by a soft chime. The fleet had entered Valoran space. Hundreds of satellites surrounded the capital world, each one armed, each one designed to scan and report. But as the Terran fleet approached, every satellite simply shut down. No shots fired, no resistance, just quiet submission. The human fleet drifted forward like shadows through glass. On the planet below, alarms began to scream. The council chambers erupted into chaos. "Terran vessels entering restricted orbit!" shouted a technician. "Activate planetary defenses!" "They're not responding to hails." But before any weapon could fire, every system went dark. The entire defense grid blinked out as if it had never existed. Then a new signal appeared. Every screen, every projector, every broadcast feed across the planet lit up with the image of Admiral Vega. Her voice filled the skies of Valora, calm but cold as steel. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, "you sat in judgment over every species, claiming to keep peace. But behind your words you hid the worst crime of all, manipulation. You sent a good man to die. And when his blood touched alien soil, you called it diplomacy." Her image towered over the city like a ghost of justice. "We came to you in peace," she continued. "We offered alliance, trade, unity. You answered by whispering lies to those who feared us. You ordered the Zorath to do your killing, and you hid behind their fall." In the chamber below, panic spread among the council delegates. "Cut the transmission!" Someone shouted. "Block the signal!" But no system obeyed. Human code had already taken control of every network. Even the air above Valora shimmered with Terran drones projecting the message. Vega raised a hand, and another figure appeared beside her hologram, Kalar Varn, wearing the torn insignia of the Zorath. He stepped forward, his voice shaking but strong. "I am Commander Kalar Varn," he said. "I saw the truth. The attack on the human Peacekeeper was not our will. It was your council that ordered it. Your fear of Earth that created this war." The crowd gasped. Delegates froze in their seats. Every eye turned toward the council speaker. The same alien who had called Hale's mission a diplomatic gamble. His face turned pale as the evidence appeared on every screen. The encryption logs, the council authorizations, the secret communications with Zorath High Command. All of it exposed. Vega's voice became sharper, colder. "You betrayed peace to protect your pride," she said, "and in doing so you awakened humanity's wrath. But hear this clearly. We do not come to destroy you. We come to remind you what peace costs." Then the Terran fleet uncloaked above Valora, thousands of ships hanging in formation, their hulls black and silent. They didn't fire a single shot. They didn't need to. The sight alone froze. The world in terror. Inside the chamber, the speaker fell to his knees. "Please," he said, "no more. The galaxy cannot survive another war." Vega looked down at him through the hologram. "Then learn," she said quietly. "Learn that peace is not granted by words. It is earned by truth." She turned away from the camera and signaled her officers. "Broadcast everything," she said. "Let every world see who really started this." And across the galaxy, The truth spread like fire. Planets that once bowed to the Council now turned their backs. Alliances shattered overnight. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy's rulers stood alone. As the Ark of Dawn prepared to leave orbit, Kilar turned to Vega. "You could have destroyed them," he said softly. "Why didn't you?" Vega looked out the window, watching the stars drift by like slow embers. "Because Marcus Hale died for peace," she said. "If I destroy them, his death means nothing." She paused, her voice quiet but heavy. "But if they live with shame," she said, "then his name will live forever." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, disappearing into the void once more. Behind them, Valora remained untouched, but its heart was broken. The Council's power had crumbled, their lies exposed, and humanity had become something new, not conquerors, not victims, but the galaxy's conscience. As the stars streaked past her window, Vega whispered one last message to herself. "Marcus," she said softly, "they finally heard you." And somewhere, in the silent dark between stars, it felt as if the universe itself listened. Because for the first time in history, peace didn't come from fear. It came from truth. The war was over, but the echoes of it still burned through the stars. Worlds rebuilt, empires fell, and in every shadow of the galaxy, one name was whispered: Earth. No longer was humanity seen as the young, reckless species that reached too far. Now they were the keepers of balance, the ones who remembered when no one else dared to, and among them the legend of one man, Marcus Hale, the murdered Peacekeeper, had become something greater than myth. His name was now a law across hundreds of systems. A new decree spread. The Peacekeeper Protocol. Any harm to a Terran diplomat would mean the immediate nullification of all treaties. It was the one rule every species obeyed without question, because they all remembered what happened the last time someone broke it. But beneath the surface of this fragile peace, something darker stirred. Not everyone welcomed humanity's rise. Among the ruins of the old Galactic Council, whispers grew. Earth must be contained. They cannot be allowed to rule through fear. And deep within those whispers, a new alliance was forming. A coalition of the broken and the bitter, led by those who still dreamed of revenge. Back on Earth, Admiral Rain Vega stood before the monument of Marcus Hale. It was sunrise in the rebuilt Geneva Unity Park, and the statue of the fallen Peacekeeper shone in golden light. The words beneath it were simple. He believed in peace and taught the galaxy the price of breaking it. Crowds gathered silently around her, diplomats, soldiers, and citizens. From hundreds of worlds, the air carried no sound except the soft hum of the wind and the faint rhythm of ships passing in orbit. Vega placed her hand on the cold stone and whispered, "You stopped a war, Marcus. Even after death, you changed them all." But as she turned away, a soft alert blinked on her wrist display. A red symbol, encrypted, Terran command priority. She tapped the message open and her expression hardened. The transmission was short. Unknown fleets sighted at the galactic rim, unmarked vessels moving under stealth formation, possible reformation of Council War factions. The peace humanity had fought so hard for was beginning to fracture again, and Vega knew. This time it wouldn't be vengeance. It would be survival. She returned to the command tower overlooking the Atlantic. The sky above was filled with Terran warships, silent, disciplined, watchful. They didn't shine like before. Now their armor was darker, their purpose clearer. They were not the same humans the galaxy had underestimated. They were the heirs of fire. Vega activated the fleet command link. "All systems, status check," she said. Her officers' voices echoed back. "Fleet 1, ready. Fleet 2, cloaked. Earth. Defense grid active. Ghost fleets in standby orbit." The machinery of humanity's wrath was alive again, silent, patient, waiting, and yet Vega's eyes carried something different this time. Not rage, but sorrow. "We gave them a chance to learn," she whispered. "If they choose to forget, then we remind them." In the far reaches of space, near the dying edge of the galaxy, the new coalition gathered. Ships from once powerful races, scarred and angry. They spoke of rebellion, of defiance, of revenge, but even among them there was fear. Fear of the humans who fought without mercy. Fear of the admiral who led without hate. One of their spies sent a final warning to his masters. "Do not attack them," he said. "You do not understand what Earth is. They are not conquerors, they are consequences." Meanwhile, humanity prepared not to destroy, but to endure. They built schools where children learned the story of Hale. They sent aid to alien worlds still recovering from the Council's fall. Their fleets stood ready, but their weapons remained cold because humanity had discovered a strength no empire could match. Restraint. Years passed, and the galaxy changed. The Council was gone, replaced by a new alliance. The Accord of Hale, its emblem. A white dove forged in flame, its motto, "Peace through justice." And every delegate, every ambassador, bowed first before the Terran representative, not out of fear, but respect. Still, in the deep archives of Earth Command, one sealed order remained, a single code known only to Admiral Vega, if ever the Accord fell, if ever humanity was betrayed. Again, the code would awaken the weapon Marcus Hale himself had forbidden, Project Solaris. A weapon built not to destroy worlds, but to erase the idea of war itself. A weapon powered by memory, by the light of those who died believing in peace. As Vega stood once more at her window, the stars reflected in her eyes, she whispered into the silence, "We are the children of fire. But we will keep it, hidden until they force us to burn again." And somewhere in the endless dark, the galaxy listened. Every empire, every world, every heart that remembered the fire of Earth felt a quiet chill, because they all knew. Humanity's fury had not died. It was only waiting for the day peace was broken again. And when that day came, the stars themselves would tremble.